Hello, everyone, and welcome back to all of our audience, to Three Friends on the Mic. Hi there, ladies.
Hello.
So, of course, I have with me my lovely co-host, Miss Julie, and then I have my other lovely co-host, Miss Chanel. And I just realized that I introduce you guys all the time, and I never say, "Hey," and I'm your other co-host, Kiani. So yay, that brings us all. That brings us all here. So okay, so we have a great topic. I think every topic we talk about is great, is warranted to talk about in today's world. But we really have a pretty big one today, because I think it can be a determination of the outcome of your life. And I know that's pretty big to put out there, but you'll see everyone will see what we're talking about once we get started. So today we're going to talk about the fixed mindset versus the growth mindset. And also going to discuss the internal battles and external factors that sometimes pull at us as well. So when you hear that loaded topic there, you guys, anybody want to jump in, that's fine. When you think about the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset, what comes to mind? Who want to go first?
I'll jump in. That's fine.
Yeah, I was like, Chanel,
I think we all looked at Chanel.
I always start to think about, okay, who am I versus with whom I'm speaking? And I think, do folks know what it means to have a fixed mindset versus having a growth mindset? And so I'm going to start with a fixed mindset. And this is Chanel's layperson's version of what I deem it to be. So if you go look it up in the dictionary, you go look it up from other folks, you may not get the same outcome, but this is what I'm going to tell you how I see it. So Chanel, in my mind, I think a fixed mindset really is what it says, where you're not really open to the thought processes of others. You're looking at the world through your lens and only your lens. You're not really looking to see how others think and feel. You may have a conversation with someone and but in your mind, you're thinking, they don't know what they're talking about. Like, I know how this is supposed to play out, like this is the way that we've done it, and this is the way that we're always going to do it, so they can just say whatever they want to say. So that's what I think about when I think of a fixed mindset, where you've got a one track. We may have two tracks, but we're not looking to really expand our knowledge. We're not looking really to expand with whom we speak or who we are. When I look at a growth mindset, I look at that we are looking to not only interact with others, but also engage in a way where we're learning and we're being challenged in our knowledge and our philosophies. We may not always end on the same page, but we can understand where someone else is coming from and bring that to the table and say, you know what, I really like what you're saying, but I disagree because this, that, and the other, and have a way where it's not argumentative. It's really expounding upon what they're saying, who they are, and respecting the fact that they do have a different opinion. They might have a different way of thinking, and you might walk away with something new in your arsenal along the way. So that's, like I said, those are my definitions and how I view it. So
I like it.
I like it too. I like it. Well said.
Yeah.
Julie, you go right ahead.
Okay. So in terms of like what I think of when I hear that, I'm going to go in a slightly different direction than Chanel did, is I actually think of like my own journey of going from a fixed mindset into more of a growth mindset. And that honestly, I don't think really happened to me until like 4 years ago. I mean, like, it wasn't that long after I met y'all. I was just like, how convenient. But really and truly, it was because we had training on it at work. And I remember thinking, oh no, I have a fixed mindset. Like, and I was like, it was that like, oh my gosh, awareness. And I think a lot of it is sometimes people just don't know, like, because that's just maybe not how they've been taught or raised. Like going back to our podcast last week, like there's factors, right? Of like, this is, I should be open to new perspectives, or like I don't even realize I have a closed mindset, or a fixed mindset. Like I'm not in that space. But then just even being willing to like learn new things. So like, yes, understanding others' perspectives, but also just like learning new things and trying to get in that space of being a lifelong learner. Because the more you know, right? And I think that really helps with the mindset too. and being able to overcome, like when you're in a growth mindset, you're able to overcome those maybe external factors a little bit more.
Mhm.
It helps with internal factors too, right? But like if you're experiencing working with someone or dealing with somebody who has that fixed mindset, it's a little easier to address, I think, when you're aware and in that growth mindset.
And that, and,
Yeah.
and Keanu, before you jump in, I just want to say that speaks to one's emotional intelligence.
Oh yeah.
In that time frame, to be able to identify and realize that someone has a fixed mindset and not to necessarily jump in to challenge it, but just have the realization that that's occurring. And then the path that you take with that person and then your conversation with that person may
Mhm.
change in order to try to get them to not necessarily see your point of view, but open up their world in general.
Yeah.
I agree with that wholeheartedly, Chanel. And that's funny you said that little statement, because I think that kind of goes back to our last session that we had talking about different perspectives, right? So the growth mindset, if you okay, so just to jump in, as always, you guys always know that I agree with everything they say. And I just pretty much just piggyback. So I wanted us to discuss what our thoughts were first, because I do have a Google the definition for both.
Ooh.
Right. But I agree with
I'm glad I gave my disclaimer.
yes, because Chanel, that's not what it said. I was just kidding. But no, but it's kind of along those lines. But I agree, Bo. The difference between me is, to make it short, being willing to grow and not being willing to grow. Okay, that's the difference between me. So a fixed mindset is, to me, someone that's kind of stuck in what they are and what they're doing, and they're not interested in anything different. It's just, this is what it is. This is what I've always known. And a lot of times they think that's right. And so they're not willing to expand, like you said, Chanel, or anything like that. And Julie, to piggyback off of what you said, I too struggle. I think I probably struggle with that in some areas even now, because sometimes you get stuck in I don't know, the same. That's why it was so easy for me to tell you, like, they get fixed in their own ways or whatever, because there's some things I've been doing for quite some time. And then when somebody offers something else, it's almost like I do have a little reluctancy to be like, oh, well, okay, well, that makes sense. But in your mind, like, okay, but then I waver between both, because then going back over to the fixed mindset, I want to know. I want to grow. I love learning. I love learning from others. I want to know about different things or whatever, especially things that I have no idea about or whatever. So of course, that growth mindset is being willing to listen and being willing to really stretch yourself to see how much can you learn, how to see what you can, how much can you get from others to really add value to your life. Put it that way. I have been very blessed and very fortunate to be around many people, including you all, that has helped with my growth mindset. Like you guys have added value to me, because I've learned so much, and we talk about so many different topics and things like that, along with my loved ones in my life and all of that good stuff. So that's my definition. Just the difference of you wanting to grow, or you just kind of wanting to stay kind of where you are. And the reason why I connected that with the potential outcome of your life, because we all have decisions of how we choose to live our lives in whatever form or whatever, right? But if you're not willing to push yourself or willing to learn new things, learn how to do something different, learn how to step outside of your comfort zone so you can grow, then it's a possibility you will see your life from, I'm just going to put a year out there, it's 2022. So we'll say 2010, if your life still looks the same in 2022 as it did in 2010, that could be a problem. that can be a shortness of growth there. So I think that we all, safe to say, we'll say the growth mindset is definitely the way you want to go, but that's what we're talking about it. So according to Google, in a growth mindset, people believe that most basic abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work. That's in the growth mindset. So you work hard, you put your stuff out there, pretty much what you guys were saying in the first place, right? But in a fixed mindset, people believe their intelligence, talents, and personalities are just there and cannot grow.
Cannot change, I think, is the key word. Like, I think one thing, if you think about, and just from working with students, right? Like, I can't do this. I'm not smart enough to do this. How does your negative self-talk impact your mindset?
Yeah, if you're walking in to the conversation already feeling defeated, how can you move forward? You know, I think about that. And I think about that also, you know, with students or with colleagues, when you're having a conversation like, well, I can't figure this out. Well, is it, I can't figure it out, or I'm stuck? It's a different conversation. I'm stuck on this means I'm trying to find a solution. Let's brainstorm. Let's figure out how we can get past it, as opposed to I can't for me is a hard stop.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, and until we're in the grave, why are we hard stopping on anything? There should be some level of fluidity where we can say, all right, in this moment, I need more information, or in this moment, I need to work with someone else in order to move forward.
You know
I think that's learning how to do that, right? In a lot of situations, it's like, I've never done that before. I've never known to do that. And like, when I think about negative self-talk or lacking confidence and how that plays into mindset, and that's where I think like those internal, external factors come in. Like, have you been told your whole life that you can't do something? And so that's why you hold that belief in that fixed mindset. And then maybe because you've been told that your whole life, you believe that narrative. And that's that negative self-talk. No, I can't do it. And I think that's something I really like. That was one thing I think of, even like some specific students, I'm like, why can't you do it?
Right. How'd you get here?
And when you ask that question, they're like,
how'd you get here? You know?
I don't know.
And you know what? And Julie, the fact
You know?
and I was going to say, the fact that you and Chanel both brought up examples, I was going to ask the question. So have either one of you care to share an example of when you were working with someone that had a fixed mindset? And first of all, how did you actually tell them, like, this is what we're working with? And if you didn't, how did you turn it around to be like, oh, I can do this? So,
do you want me to hop in, Chanel? I
Yeah,
have a
you go
specific
first. Go
example
for
I'm
it.
thinking of. So I actually had a specific student who I was working with that was in that, like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. And I literally was like, hey, I want you to like read this article and listen to this video on fixed versus growth mindset. And we're going to talk about it. And they just didn't realize, like, they just didn't know, because that was just a belief that they had held internally. And then that kind of led to a whole conversation about confidence and, like, you know, what they can do to be successful. And I think that's a lot of it. Like, more generally speaking, I would hear, I can't do that. And I'd say, like, so what can you do? How are you framing the conversation? But honestly, like, I think back to myself like 5-6 years ago, I would have been like, I'm not in the headspace to have this conversation. Like, I'm just not. And I think
be ready.
So much of like where you are on the growth mindset versus fixed mindset can also be related to mental health, which I know is going to be a whole separate series we do in the future. So I'm not going to go too far into that, but
hold on to that.
I do think that's but I do think that can be a factor too, as we look at those internal and external factors. Like, how are you being impacted, so that where is your head in that moment? But I really think so much of it boils down to, like, what have you been told and what do you tell yourself?
Right. Yeah. I mean, for me, I look at, you know, years ago, many moons ago, when I was a younger Chanel, and I first started working as a supervisor, and I had an employee who, no matter what you came at her with, the response was, well, I can't do that. You know, that's not how we do it. You know, and it was clear from the beginning that no matter how I was approaching the situation, It didn't matter what I had to say because she had already determined that the outcome was a hard stop. And so I didn't have the blessing of having a supervisor or a manager above me who was able to guide me and really coach me on what I needed to do. So I had to figure out for myself. This is before the days of like our magical internet, people. I had to figure out.
You can just get on Google and do some stuff. I mean,
I couldn't jump online. There weren't cell phones. I couldn't jump on a cell phone because they didn't exist. to find out what I needed to do, that wasn't an option. So I had to start to think about, and it was challenging, quite frankly, it was challenging. I had to start to think about, because this is someone that she and I needed to work together on a regular basis. She was an administrative assistant. She had a lot of knowledge. She'd been there for many years. And so what I ended up doing was saying, we're going to call her, I don't know, Jane. So I would say, all right, Jane, there's this project that needs to be completed. How do you think we should handle it? Because I knew going in that no matter how I approached it, it was going to get shut down. Okay. So once I went that route with Jane and said, hey, how do you think she all of a sudden was owning things.
Nice.
And I know now, but I didn't realize then, there was a battle for authority. And if I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. I don't care what you call me, just make sure the check is right. So because I had a title, she was like, well, because you're the boss. No, not really. We're all up. When you're working with an office of folks, we all need each other. It's an interdependent relationship.
It is.
And that's how I viewed it. And that's how I try to work our environment. And so I was like, okay, once I came at her that way, then our relationship changed, her level of commitment changed, her buy-in changed. Like I said, looking back on it now, I can see how these things were able to progress and how we were able to move forward. But had I kept coming at her with, this is what we're going to do, or this is how I would like to do it, we would have just been doing the same little circle dance, dog chasing the tail, and it got to a point where she would come to me and say, hey, Chanel, I have this idea.
Nice.
So now we're at a place where it's not, this is the way we've always done it. It's, I have an innovative way. I have a new way I think we can do it. Talk about maybe not a complete change of mindset, but talk about a new outlook in that moment.
Yep.
So that would be the story that I would offer.
Well,
love it.
I love it too. I mean, from both stories, you just basically showed them a different way, like a different outlook, a different way to look at something. Two things happen. One, y'all gain their trust, right? For them to even kind of receive, because this is the thing too. A lot of times when people don't receive something very well or whatever, or if they're not receiving they don't trust you enough to receive what they're saying. So one thing you guys did, you gain the trust, and then you show them a different way. And that's kind of what the growth mindset is all about. It's a lot of definitions out there on Google. It's a lot of definitions. We can look at Webster or wherever we want to go. But at the end of the day, the growth mindset is basically about expanding yourself and getting out of your comfort zone so you can see a different way. Because who knows? And I've learned myself that when you see things in a different way, how about it's much easier to do it this way than to do it to this long, drawn out way or whatever. So now, have you guys ever outright told someone you have a fixed mindset?
Not in those words.
Okay.
Let's and we all might be able to relate to this. This is short and sweet. talking with a family member, talking with a sibling, talking with a friend. You're like, why are you so hard-headed? Okay, I'm gonna go there.
Look,
What
no,
was I
Chanel, wait a
thinking?
minute, one more
Why
thing.
was
Why,
I so hard-headed?
or why did you ask me for the advice if you weren't?
And then you wasn't gonna use it,
Mhm.
right? I'm gonna go there. Okay,
Yeah.
let's break it down to lowest common denominator. That's a fixed mindset. Why are you so hard-headed?
Right.
Didn't I just tell you how this is supposed to go?
Yep.
Correct.
Why are you so stubborn? Yeah, that's the one I use. Yeah.
Just to tell you, I'm
Well,
not
If
sure.
I went to some of my family and said, "You're living in a fixed mindset," here's the door. You know, these
Oh, you
are
know
not
what?
words that.
Yeah.
This is not a conversation that's gonna go well. Okay, so we have.
You know what?
Same.
While you guys are saying
Know
that,
your audience. I know my audience. Okay.
you know what? No. While you're saying that, I'm gonna do that. When I talk to someone that I'm close to, I'm like, you know what? I can't talk to you anymore because you're living in a fixed mindset. I'm gonna have to exit. I'm gonna have to leave. So, but this is but it is a huge topic because we can go on and on of the fix versus the growth. But what I would like to talk
Yeah.
about is some of the advantages of having a growth mindset. Let's start there because I always want to start with the positive.
Yeah.
Right.
So what do you guys think of some of the advantages of having a growth mindset? And I'm just going to steal the word within the question, growth. But go ahead.
Well done.
I know.
Chanel, you want to hop in?
Yeah, I'll jump in. So when you just said that right now, the first thing that came to mind, and this is so completely random because such a small group of people on this planet will understand what I'm getting ready to say. So when I was in college, there was this group. Oh my goodness, what was their name? I don't remember the name of the band, but the lead singer, they had this song called "Open Up Your Mind."
Oh,
Okay.
nice.
And like that's the first thing that came to mind. Like, and I could hear the tune in my head. Copyright laws won't allow me to sing it because I don't know if this song is still in the universe and we're not getting sued. But if I remember correctly, lead singer's name was Derek Dolphin. Was his name. And I could see his face when you said that. And he's saying, open up your mind, open up your mind, open it up. So I just sang it anyway. I'm gonna get sued. So what are you gonna do? But it was in my head, so I had to go there.
Less than 30 seconds. We're good.
Like, and there was this dude playing the saxophone. And when I hear that, I think, what possibilities are out there for you if you take a moment and open up your thought process? Like I would hear this song and it was freeing. And that's what I think of a growth mindset. It frees you. Think of all the things that you might be afforded for taking a moment to open up your mind, open up your thought process, grow, you know? Even if you're a tree with roots planted, when the wind blows, you move.
Correct.
You're learning something,
True.
something's going on. So that's kind of what I think of.
Nice.
See, I would agree, right? Like in what Keone said, it all goes back to growth. But like, I think I reflect a lot on like my journey. And I think the biggest thing is like from living in a fixed mindset, like, gosh darn, it's exhausting. It really is. Like, it's exhausting. It's, it can make you really bitter. It can make you really angry. It can really hurt other people in your life. And I think, and I also think sometimes we want to surround ourselves when we're living in a fixed mindset. At least this is again, not the dictionary definition here, but like, I feel like you surround yourself with people who are going to agree with you, right? Like you're looking for confirmation bias. You don't want to hear other people's opinions. Like you just want to be in your space and you don't want things to change and you want to be right. That's again, just, it's exhausting. Like it's tiresome. And I think you can still experience challenge in a growth mindset, of course, but I feel like you're just a lot less stressed and a lot less bitter, and you're a lot more able to be like, oh, you know what? I never thought of it that way. That was, I don't know what I was thinking. Like, it's a lot easier to admit like you're wrong
Mhm.
in a growth mindset and just be free of the weight of living in a fixed mindset. Like, that's kind of where I go as an advantage, is like, it's a much better headspace to be living in, y'all.
Yes, it is.
Trust me.
You would know. You know what? When I think of fixed mindset, I think of okay, and it's probably because my mom, but I think of children, right? As they grow up, or think about us when we were growing up as kids. Imagine if our mindset was still at 10.
Mhm.
Imagine we didn't go past considering other things that's out there, but imagine if you were still doing the same things you were doing, like I said, 10, 15 years ago or whatever.
Mhm.
And I hate that I started that thought, because basically I just drew a blank. I don't know where I was going with that.
I'll throw you a lifesaver here. So
But
when we were talking, when you guys started talking about fixed mindset, I started thinking about knowing what you know and not caring about what you don't know. Yep. I wrote that down when
that's nice.
I was like, that's really what I think of with a fixed mindset. Well, this is what I know. This is how it's going to go. I'm not really concerned with what you have to say about it, and I don't care about it. And I'm
so glad you wrote it down, because I need to add that to the list of Chanel-isms.
Make sure there's paper.
So send that to me later, because I'm going to need that.
I'll text it over.
That is it. That is important. But a sentence come to mind. I think I was going with exploration, just exploring.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how could you? I don't know. It's like, it's so much life out here to live. It is. It's so much life out here to live. It's so many things out here to learn about. It's so many people. It's so many great people that honestly probably hadn't even came into your path yet. It's so many opportunities that's going to be coming your way, and if you have an open mind to, like,
you have to be willing to receive them.
Right? If you have that open mind to receive it. And that's and that was another thing, because I did write this down. I didn't read it out loud. But for me, fixed mindsets trumps opportunities. It does not, you will stop your opportunity at the door a lot of times with a fixed mindset, because you are not open to what anybody has to say, or if anyone having to offer you words of advice or words of wisdom or anything like that. And then that also led me to the fixed mindset, going back all the way to the beginning when you guys first started talking about, if this is what you were told while you were growing up, or while you whatever group of friends or group of people you have around you. Because a lot of times we have negative people around us that's not bigging us up, that's not motivating us in any type of way, that's always telling you that you can't do something or whatever. So that, I think that fixed mindset holds dear to those people that's been getting said that.
And if you think about it too, like when you ask the question, like, where are you the same person you were 10 or 15 years ago? You might not be, but the people around you might be. And how is that impacting you?
And that's when you get new people. That's when people.
Look, and that's a part of it, right?
Yeah,
like that's
what do you do about that though? And
you're at the point where you've left yourself no options but to get new people.
Yes.
And it's funny because
it's the awareness though.
I had that conversation with a friend of mine. We were I was visiting with her and we were making breakfast and talking, and she said, I remember some people from when we were kids, okay? And they still act like kids. Like I'm 50, and she's talking about people we knew that when we were like 12, 13 years old, that are still talking about things like, well, if she gets in my face, I'm gonna fight her. Homie. Oh, excuse me. No, she's too. You 52, friend.
First of all,
this is how we're communicating, interacting?
No.
Really? Really? No. This is what we're doing. Okay.
First of all, I think I shared with y'all the other day. I was not happy that I got up one day and heard my knees crackle. Okay, so I don't have time. Fight nobody. I don't like the sound I heard the other day.
Listen,
I'm fighting folks. Okay?
I might be in my 30s, but I have the body of an 80-year-old. So like, I'm gonna just crumble if anybody tries to fight me. And I certainly can't pick a
Well,
fight.
and you know, honestly, like the point of that was my friend then said, she's like, at that moment, I realized this is not someone that I could have in my life. And I was like,
yeah.
true statement. You know? And I was
But I
like,
think that's a good,
you know,
like,
true
people can
statement.
serve
Because
a
you have not-
purpose.
You have not moved on from the same way that you
Yes.
were when you were a teenager of how you solved your problems. Okay.
That is,
And people
that's a
can-
good question. Go ahead,
People
Julie.
can serve a purpose in your life, right? Like, I think we view relationships, whether it's a romantic relationship, a friend, whatever, as like, it's a failure if that doesn't continue. And I used to buy into that. I don't any longer. Like,
Mhm.
sometimes people serve a purpose in your life. And then if you grow in two different directions and they're not willing to, you know, hype you up and they become somebody who drags you down, it's time to go. Like, it doesn't mean you don't care about them. It doesn't mean that you are trying to get back at them, because like that's what they think if they're living in a fixed mindset. But like, sometimes it's just like, I've grown out of this. And if you're not going to grow with me, well, then what are we doing? Like,
think about,
or if you're not going to
friend
respect
or-
me.
Yeah, and think about the friend. I'm sorry to cut you off, Julie. The
Oh, you're
friend,
fine.
the family member, the significant other that has said to you, "Wow, you've changed," and you know you take the "you changed" as "Brava, I've changed," and
Right.
they take it as, "Oh no, you've changed." Like,
Yeah.
and that's and sometimes that's the moment you're like, that's the aha moment.
Mhm.
One of us
Mhm.
gotta bounce. Is it me or you? What are we doing here? And I agree with you. We move on from elementary school to middle school to high school to
Yep.
college. Some of us high school to a job or what have you. Along those stops, we have those teachers
Mhm.
that we don't go back to them. We know that there was a purpose. To your point, we know at some point they've served a purpose
Mhm.
and we learned a lesson. Maybe this person's here just to teach that lesson.
The
Mhm.
word that we're looking for is seasons. People
Yeah.
have
Girl, you
seasons.
say that again, please.
Okay.
For the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Okay, put
Mhm.
that down for the 1-9. But anyway, put with seasons. Okay, because here's the thing: for a long time, I didn't realize this either. But everybody that enters into your life is not meant to stay in your life. Because the question, I wanted y'all to stay there because I was going to ask both of you guys this question for a second, but and okay, there it is. Okay, so the thing I was going to ask you, have you ever had and I know it's probably a yes, but I guess to try to want you to remember how you felt, somebody that was really close to you, and at a specific moment of a conversation that you guys were just having, you realize right in that conversation, like, dang, man, I can't even take you with me, or I can't even,
Yeah.
we can't do this.
I think for me, there were multiple things that happened during COVID that made me
Oh, COVID revealed a lot of stuff.
completely change how I viewed people.
Yeah.
When you make comments about like, oh, well, I don't care, it doesn't affect me, but they're saying that to you and you're affected. Like, so you're saying you don't care if I'm hurt?
Yep.
Like, that's
Passed
why.
out.
So why am I wasting my breath on this? Like, it just, I think
well,
there's
you
so
have a
much
great
of
day. I'll
that.
talk to you soon.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's, like I going back to what you said just a minute ago, Cuny, like I've seen it on like social media, and darn if I can't remember what exactly it says right now, but like it was like a little photo that basically said like, I'm not the same person I was a year ago or 2 years or whatever, and like I'm grateful for that.
Yes.
I'm grateful for that. Others
I
might not be.
Mhm.
Right? Like, I'm grateful I'm not the same. And I feel like sometimes that's hard for people to understand.
Hmm.
Like, if they haven't gone through, whether it's a large period of growth or whatever, like it's hard for them to understand. And even like I've found in the last 2.5, 3 years, I'm a lot more focused on helping others. So like when I say, oh, I'm going to go do such and such, people are like, well, why are you doing that? Because it's like, it feels good to help other people. People are like, you're spending your time doing that? Like, yes. And let me tell you, my conscience is clear, you know, like it feels good, but like sometimes people don't understand like why you would make a personal sacrifice to assist somebody else. And if you have people questioning that, and that's something that you're passionate about, then you probably don't have the right people around you.
And but you know what, a lot of people don't, it depends on their outlook, of course, going back to the outlook on life or whatever. But that was something huge that you said, because I'm trying to think of the saying of, oh, it's better to give than receive. I know that one, but that wasn't the one I was going for. But it's I remember taking a positive psychology course on LinkedIn, and it was a really good course. I recommend it to anyone. But it was basically just telling you what makes you feel all warm and fuzzy in the inside and makes you feel productive. And one of the things on the top 3 list or whatever is doing for others. Like if you can remove yourself, and it doesn't have to be anything huge at all. It can just be, I don't know, hey, out babysitting or whatever. Because I promise you, if you guys were lived around in my neighborhood, both of you guys would probably get phone calls some time ago when the kids were growing up telling you, what you doing? I was just wondering if you would come over and.
Can I drop my kid off? I need a moment.
So I was just saying, but
go to Chanel's house. Come on over.
Look, I probably would have found a house next to you guys. Like, there you go. But people, they don't understand. They don't understand that. You know what I mean? They can't fathom that or whatever. So that's huge. And I remember a story specifically when I was talking to someone that was close to me. And honestly, I almost cried because I had been knowing this person for quite some time, for a very long time. And we're in double digits. And at one time you were my like ride or die, I guess, and so to speak. And I guess when I started realizing some things, it sucked because I realized that that's where you were, and we're different. And then I was getting questioned a lot about stuff that I wanted to kind of move forward and do, because you have people close to you or whatever, like we share a lot of stuff with each other and all that good stuff. You want to hear the good and bad about it, like not to put you down to say you can't, but you say you want to go ahead and do a concert in an arena, Kiani. Doing what, sweetie? Do you sing or rap? What are we doing? So being realistic, the reality part of everything, but that's the point. But I noticed it was just a lot of, oh, well, why you? Or if I were you, I wouldn't do that, or blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, oh man. So it was, for me, that was very disturbing, and it didn't feel good or whatever. So
it doesn't feel good, but sometimes those things that don't feel good are also the biggest blessings in disguise, right? Like I've been on the other side of that, where people are like, I'm going to cut you out. And I'm like, oh God, what's wrong with me? Oh, I'm the one who has work to do.
That's a good one, Julie. Now have you guys, because I want to say no one's ever told me that, but I have sensed maybe I wasn't in the same place with someone else, and conversation kind of got light. So until I was able to level up to a certain whatever, but then by that time I did have a chip on my shoulder, because I was like, well, you didn't want to help me level up to this level, so now don't try to talk to me now. But that's my pettiness. But anyway,
you're human. You're allowed to do that every now and then.
Right. Listen, like this, the growth mindset isn't a 100% of the time thing, right? Like,
well, I think it works. It does work both ways. Like, and I honestly think today, and I'm gonna go a little bit conceited or confident. I'm gonna go very confident. If someone drops me now, I'd be like, you got now, like I'm the goods all day, tomorrow, twice on Sunday. Like, really? This is what we're doing? Right. Really?
Yep.
Is that your smartest move? Is that your smartest move? Really? No, but seriously, like I can think of times when I was younger that if I look back and think about relationships that kind of just faded away, I understand now.
Yeah.
I understand at this point in my life,
right,
why that might have happened. Some of them I go, I could have made a different decision.
Right.
Yep.
Other ones, I'm like, I'm good. You know, like,
Yep.
I'm good.
No doubling
I'm
back.
good. You
Yep.
stopped talking with me, and it probably was the best for both of us.
Yeah,
It
both
was.
of us.
Yes. Correct.
You know?
And I think that's a really powerful thing, right?
It
To like
is.
pause and have that like recognition or that appreciation of, you know what, in the moment, I wasn't feeling good. I wasn't happy, whatever. I had all kinds of feelings, but like now I'm like, man, thank you. Thanks.
Right.
You're looking
Didn't know
out.
I
You're
needed
looking
you to
out.
do
You
that
did
for
me
me.
solid. Thank you. Appreciate it.
But I appreciate it.
Well, also, I think about a couple things. The first thing I think of, I remember a few years ago, this might have been like 5-6 years ago. I was feeling nostalgic and I was like, oh my goodness, there's a friend of mine that I haven't talked to in forever. And I loved her. She was awesome. Like we always had the best conversations. Let me find her. My bad. I remembered her
Just dangerous.
the way that it was 5-6 years ago.
Mhm.
Oh.
He's that same person 5-6 years later. I was very different when I knew her. So I knew her about over 20 some odd years ago. Okay. I knew her, I was probably early mid 20s is when I
Okay.
knew her. Okay. And I knew her for a period of time. I rolled out, caught up with her, and I was like, wow, you are the same exact, and not in a positive way, God forgive me, not in a positive way. You're the same exact person you were that many years ago that you are now.
So in other words, Chanel, while you were on this warm and fuzzy trip, like, oh my goodness, we were the best. And then she reminded you of why you guys kind of
It was
drifted apart.
definitely a Price is Right. Wah, wah. You know? You got the can of soup. You did not get the big prize. So.
Oh,
You did not. So
I
that's
freaking
not
love
good.
it.
Well,
I freaking love it.
okay, so we're getting ready to wrap everything up, you guys. but
Yes.
Just wanted to put one last thought out there. So whoever wants to go first, I'll go last. As far as yes, always.
One of these days we're gonna turn the script on ya.
I know.
I'm just gonna roll up and be
Oh,
like, well,
look.
today our topic is.
Right.
Hey, look, you know, you can jump on in, man. Tell me a little something.
Are y'all trying to see the deer in what is the deer in the headlight
Yup.
look like?
Headlights. Yeah.
So funny you should ask me that. I mean, I'll play it off. So, but okay. So I guess last comments as to
Yes.
what do we want to give our folks about the difference between fixed mindsets versus growth? It's a two-part question. Sorry, fixed mindsets versus growth mindsets, and which mindset do you think is the better mindset to have? Why?
Well, I've totally answered that second part already.
Oh, correct.
You know, it's
Just
definitely, for me, it's definitely not the fixed. So I'll just kind of close with like what my journey was.
Okay.
And just kind of like the path, because I think that like that, as I've reflected it, it's been good for me. Selfishly, right? Whoops. So for me, I think it was just like that initial conversation of what is fixed versus growth mindset, and like finding out and then going, oh, this can't be good. Like, oh no. And okay, to be fair, there's times where fixed mindset is okay, right? But like, I didn't want to live in that space of not wanting to grow. And so for me, it was having the awareness of like, oh, I should work on this. This is something I should be aware of. And then it was that, why do I have the fixed mindset? What has led me to this point? What do I need to change at this point? Like that whole process. What were the internal factors and what were the external factors, right? Like I had somebody who's not been in my life for well over a decade now say to me at one point, you're never going to be successful. And that has stuck with me since then. And it wasn't in a way, okay, sometimes it was in a way where I was like, I'm never going to be successful. But a lot of times I was like, I need to prove you wrong. Instead of, I need to prove myself right.
Right. Oh, like that.
So like when you start to have that, like, okay, what are those external factors that have led me to this point? And then what is my internal dialogue, right? Like, I have a student who, and I've totally stolen this from her more than once, but like she used to say, call it her inner mean girl. And like, how do you get that inner mean girl to just shush, bop? No, no inner mean girl. No, like that for me, right? I'm just being real, right? Like it was the inner mean girl. We had to just knock, knock, knock. And just being willing to like put in the work and be open, like just honestly, even having that, like, oh, okay, like this is where I am. I don't want to be here. What if I'm open to hearing other people? And if you have people in your life that just agree with you 24/7, or like you don't feel like anybody's challenging you, try to find a space where you can have that. Like, is there a local moms group, or is there a local business professional? Like whatever you're doing, like find people and be okay with moving on from some people who are in your life who aren't going to be serving you. Or if you've had people that have left your life because you weren't serving them, think about that and reflect on that before you move forward.
Nice.
I'm going to keep mine short and sweet.
Yes, that's good. Totally opposite of me. Like it. Well done.
So when I think of, this is what I think of. What are you passionate about? What brings you joy? Is it people? Is it things? What's your purpose? If you are living in that space where you are passionate about something and want to find out more about it and learn about it and grow, there it is. That growth mindset is going to take you from your passion to your, and bring you to the purpose, all wrapped up in a nice little bow. If you're in a fixed mindset, you have your passion and you're like the picture of the duck on top of the water where they're just like, you know, underneath, they're just moving their little, you know, their little feet in the water. They're not going anywhere. That's really what I think of when I think of a fixed mindset. On the surface, you're like, what's good? Underneath, you're just treading water. You're not going anywhere. So your passion sits there. And it just sits there.
Yeah.
So.
Great. I don't know why I go like that, because it's always to follow. Anyways.
Mix it up.
I mean, geez.
It's to make your life easier.
I mean,
you know?
you guys, I love you guys. You do. Okay. 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 So to wrap it up, and I'll try not to be long-winded. Okay. The difference between the two, I think that a fixed mindset gives you permission not to go into a growth mindset. I think that a fixed mindset will stop you from the opportunities that you deserve in your life to move along. I think a fixed mindset will just, well, going back to the opposite with the growth mindset, it will stop you from growing, okay? And you being your own person, being the person that you were intended to be, because I don't know if everybody realized this or not, but we're not just here. Like every one of us have a purpose to be here. Now, whether you know what that purpose is or not, that's something that you need to be in search of, because you have a purpose for why you are here. I always say it's very important for you to know what that is, because the minute you're living in your purpose, I think that's when your happiness kind of just, and joy just explode. Yeah, it goes nowhere. But that was my thing. I just said that the fixed mindset is an excuse for you not to be in a growth mindset. And if you're in a growth mindset, you're constantly, of course, learning and pretty much focusing on how you can be better, how your life can possibly be better, and what you can gain. And it's not all about like materialistic or whatever. Knowledge is power. So if somebody can drop some gems on you, that's going to add value to whatever you're doing or to move you along in life, I suggest you go along with that, because that's worth more than money. Wisdom is always going to be worth more than money, because that's something that someone can never take away from you. Your wisdom and your knowledge, that's yours. So I think I will wrap that up, because that's what I think of. And
that's a high note. what's going on
Right.
behind it.
I think that's
Yeah.
pretty much the gist. And I know that what do I choose? I think our audience can tell what we all choose. We choose the fixed mindset because we want to grow. We want to continue to become even better than we are or
Pick the
whatever.
growth mindset.
Yeah, I was like, wait a
Let me
second,
help you
wait a
there,
second.
friend.
Yeah,
I'm not ending with that because I knew where you were going. So
Oh, wait a minute. What did I just say? Did I say next?
Yeah, you said fix it. I'm
Okay,
gonna
86
change
said-
the map a little bit, and I'm using the one there with directions. So
86.
I'm gonna change our direction a little bit here and say we pick the growth mindset because we want to grow. I'm gonna say that. Okay.
Yes.
I like
Yes,
it.
exactly. That's
Okay,
where we're
and
going.
can I say one more thing that I thought of?
Yes.
What's the cost of not growing?
Woo, a lot.
That's another podcast.
Hey,
That's
stay
another
tuned,
podcast.
everyone.
That goes to the list.
Catch
The
up.
cost of not growing
Stay
is at
tuned.
least.
Please
It might be a
stay
part
tuned.
1 and a part 2, but go
Yeah,
ahead.
that's gonna have to
I'm gonna
be.
let Kiani wrap it up. My
Yes,
bad.
but
Go ahead.
anyway, but I do have one little quote here, of course. Okay, so it's something about talking about not making excuses to go over into that, to stay in that fixed mindset. So we ought to relentlessly ignore excuses, especially those we are told by ourselves. Negative
Yes.
self-talk. Okay, stop it. Get over yourself. All right, you all. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Three Friends on the Mic. We look forward to joining you all next week. And we'll see you all later. Ciao.
Bye, party people.